me, I mean, I do visual art and I do audio art, music and stuff. It's much easier for me to do the music side of it, and it's very fulfilling, but I do love doing the visual side of it, and I put out much less visually, like stuff that I do on my own. It's very satisfying to do it, but it's hard. Like, I have so many pieces started now, that it might take me even like 2 more years to finish.
Why do you think that is? Is there? I mean, you probably get.
I just get different responsibilities, different things go on, and it gets put on the back burner, and it's hard to get into that frame of mind where you can actually, because I feel like doing the visual art part of it, it's a little bit more selfish. Like, I just need to be able to cut everything else out, and it gets harder and harder to do that. You know,
it becomes the last thing on your list of things to do.
It's like, wow, I'm going to do that. And some days I'll like start, like, I'll start on working on something or trying to finish something, and then
there was a
reality kicks in.
No, but I think that where it references what we were talking about earlier.
Absolutely.
I mean, you have to create the time and the space for it, and with all the responsibilities you have going on around you, it becomes more and more important to dedicate that time and set it aside, because it's too easy for everything else that you're doing to just eat up the time that you have dedicated to being narcissistic and locking yourself in a room and just focusing on the materials in front of you.
There is an artist, I'm going to forget his name right now, but if you hop on Google, it's like 365 Skulls or the 365 Skull Project. Here was a guy that went to art school. I can't remember his name, I can't remember the school, but he always, that was his goal in life, was to be an artist. But as he came out of art school, like so many people, he found himself in the graphic art field because it allowed him to earn a living and meet all the trappings that modern society has from a financial standpoint. But it was better than being, at a restaurant or working somewhere else. He was still in the artistic field. Fast forward 10 years, and he has a job where, if I remember correctly, he designed catalogs for shipping containers. So it was graphically maybe the boringest thing you could ever think of. But it was a job, and it was still within the field. And one day he was lamenting the fact that he couldn't really find time to create, and one of his friends said, well, it doesn't have to be this Picasso every time, but just try to create. So he said that was it. That moment, he did 365 days, and his theme was a skull. And it's now a book, but the first 30 days, he claims he exhausted every artistic tool that he thought he knew how to do. There was sculpture, painting, tapestry, oil color, watercolor, mosaic, and he goes after the 30th day, but
30 days? Wow.
He was sticking to it. And some of the photos that they show in the in the magazine article is everybody in his office, he got to come in dressed in white and black. So on lunch break, they all go outside. He stands on like a 30-foot ladder and has the white and the black uniformed people all get together outside, and he lines them up into a skull. That's 31. And so it exhausted him from an artistic standpoint, but it was the most happy and productive period of his life because he had processed it. Like he had to keep it going.
Yeah, but I mean, you schedule it the same way that you schedule a rehearsal. That if you've got that time set aside every week that you're getting together and doing it, that it becomes a routine that engages that creative element.
Right.
And I think that especially within all of our lives, it becomes necessary sometimes to create those spaces in order to allow the creative to come through. Because there's not a whole lot in the world around you that's encouraging you to be creative.
All right, Jeff, since you're in both a musical band, an artistic endeavor, and then your art, where I would imagine it's you with whatever medium you're working in. Does, like what Jacob's saying, does the communal aspect of the music, there's a little bit more structure. You have to get 4 people together. So in order to get 4 people together or 3 people, you've got to set a time. We're going to have rehearsal on Tuesday.
Yeah, and sometimes that's very hard.
As an artist, when you're only responsible to yourself, Tuesday could turn into Wednesday.
You can cancel. Be like, well, I got to get drunk tonight. I really really can't get there, but how can we do it tomorrow? Because maybe tomorrow would be a good day to do that.
Yeah.
Or wait until the deadline until you put a show together and you're like, well, fuck. Shows in 2 weeks. I got 10 pieces I got to do.
And
I mean that.
I could say from the gallery standpoint, artists are extremely last minute. I love it because that tends to be the way I operate.
I feel I tend to do when I actually get in, then I know I got a deadline and I have to really do it, and I'll stay up like 3 nights in a row, whatever. I feel like actually end up doing better, obviously more spontaneous work.
You need the pressure?
I kind of always have. I've been a
need the pressure.
procrastinator my whole life, kind of. And when I get put, like, it's like, now it's the time to go, then I know, I'll usually deliver, I think.
Yeah, the rubber's the
But you're completely different, aren't you, Jacob? Because you're more free. You are more, I think you're more free, so you don't push yourself on a time limit, do you?
Well, I mean,
because in your artwork, it's
themselves
more
in terms
free.
of, if you're working on a project with somebody else, or if you have a show that's coming up and you know that you need to, fill a certain amount of wall space. I mean, the deadline always comes out, but I mean, the attempt is to try and find spontaneity within that. But at the same time, it's necessary to, to schedule times to be able to do that, because it's not so easy to disconnect yourself from what you deal with on a daily basis and go in and say, okay, well, now is creative time. I mean, I think that for me, it's more optimal in a band setting where you have a steady rehearsal day, or, a couple days a week where you're going in and that you set that side of time, and that's where we're going to go and do it. I think that it's harder for me to find those periods of time, and I think that having a show or having a deadline helps to, incubate that process and light a fire under your ass and get you going.
I've always thought that's why artists had shows, just so they could be like, oh shit, I
I
gotta make something.
But I've worked with other artists that have their artwork already done, like they already prepared, you know what I mean? There's so many, I worked with so many different types of artists. I'm just curious about your,
you can maybe like recycle some of your artwork for different shows and show stuff
in
different places, because, you make it, you don't want to just show it once and do that and have it done.
But of course you want it to sell.
A place like Cleveland, you could maybe hang it twice in Cleveland before.
2 or 3 times, actually. There's pockets.
Or you can throw something into a group show.
Yeah, there's pockets.
But as far as like your own show,